around the room during the break and you can't find them, just come to the microphone and say, "Where are you?" So you can hook up with these folks and find out what you can do to help them with their campaigns. All right, I think next what I'll do, I'll bring up our Assistant Executive Director, Janice Gallagher, and she has some information for you tonight about how things are going to run. Thank you.
Yay, Jan.
Sure. This is very simple.
More than that.
Each candidate is going to take a question. The other candidate will respond, will have an opportunity to respond. The important thing is that you have little cards on your tables. If there is a question that you would like to submit, we certainly welcome that. We do ask that you are polite and be kind, and also that you are concise with your question, please. Of course, everybody has an issue, but try and keep it as simple as possible in the interest of time, because the more questions that we can submit, the more we will understand our two fine candidates up here. So, game on. Enjoy.
I'm very pleased to announce a very special friend and someone who's been very close to the foundational principles of our country. He will be our moderator tonight, and I don't even know where to start when I introduce Dr. Sean Greener. But I think what I'll do for brevity's sake, I'll just say that he's a wonderful person with a heart for God, and he loves everyone in this room. So please welcome Dr. Sean Greener. We're going to pass around our
You want me to speak? Glad to. She made a big mistake. She gave me the microphone. This guy over here made it so I can walk around and say I can walk, so that's a good thing. I got to ask you, what matters most to you? Have you ever thought about that? What matters most to you? Usually we say what matters to you, right? We don't put the most in. But if it was your last meal, what would you eat? That's the food that matters most to you. Got to get that into your body. Have you ever been down to the beach and you turned your back on a wave and it knocks you over and you run to the water and you were turning and turning and turning? You couldn't get back to the top. What did you do the very first chance you got? You breathe. That first breath that you take when you bounce back up to the top, that's the best breath you ever took in your life. Anybody, does that ever happen to anybody? Oh yeah, me too. I grew up in Lewis Rehoboth area, and I was not a very good surfer, and so I spent a lot of time spinning, bouncing off the bottom. But it was still fun. That first breath, how amazing! That's the breath that matters the most to you. Here's another question. Maybe this is a harder question. What divides us? Right? I see some bouncing heads. What divides us? I'm not talking about us as a state in general. I'm talking about the people in this room. You see, you people are the doers. You're not the talkers, you're the doers. We had so many talkers, so few doers. You're the doers. And this is a great bunch of doers. I haven't gotten to meet all of you personally, but I look forward to doing that before the night's over. What divides us? You got to think about what divides us. Who's filled out a card to do a question? Have they turned them in yet? This is them. I'm telling you, think about that question, make it clear and concise. If I'm the guy reading it, right there. Because those are going to be the core issues, the core questions that you get the chance. This is the Republic in action. This is how it works. This is what happens. This is the thing, believe it or not, that unites us, because we're all in the game. You all have an equal voice tonight. This is a hard question. Is Delaware in good shape or bad shape? Right? It's in bad shape. It's in bad shape. There's bad stuff going on with alarm. I bet some of you wrote on the front and back of your card, and you wrote real small, and you wrote down the edges and everything, because there's so much going on in Delaware. There's so many problems here. I don't know a better time to be a Delawarean, though, than right now. And I'll tell you why. There's my brother. How you doing back there? Good to see you. We have two amazing candidates to unseat Mr. Carper. They're both very intelligent. Now, you can both testify to this. I first met you tonight. I met you at a panel we were on, and you purposely didn't talk very much. You said, listen, I want to keep very much in the middle. I don't want to form an opinion beforehand. So this will be fun for me, too. I'm super excited to hear what kind of questions. I think probably the first one, why did you pick such an ugly moderator? I'll be hurt. I'll read it. I'll be hurt, but I'll pretend I'm not. But here's the question. These are great, great men here. When you hear about what they've done in their lives, what they've done with their lives, you're like, can we have two senators? Can we do that? But here's the thing. Neither of these men can save Delaware. Neither of them. You know who can? You. You can save Delaware. Because when you have leaders who are as capable as these gentlemen are, whichever one you choose, I am telling you, if you get behind them, and I mean really get behind them, we can take back Delaware. I believe that's possible. I've seen it happen. My great friend, Mark Kerr, he's the founder of the Center for Self-Governance, and they've been in Delaware, and we have some level 5 people here. There's 5 levels to it. Intense, hard classes with hard homework. Program requirements. They don't like to call it homework. But I'm telling you, one of the things that they talk about is being engaged and not allowing issues that we disagree on to divide us. We cannot allow one thing to divide us. We've got to find a way. I'm going to say this, and if I don't get applause for this, I'll be amazed. I've given speeches all over the country, and this line occurred to me one night about 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I was in a hotel in San Diego, California. Listen, folks. The left, the right. Who in here's on the left? No hands. Who in here's on the right? Yeah, we're all on the same team. But you know what's crazy? I asked a question when I first started. I'll be finished in about 30 seconds. I asked what divides us and what unites us. Now I'm going to ask a harder question. In that, what divides us, the issues, the topics, there's probably 1,000 things that we allow to divide us. You know what? The left has one opponent, one issue, and that is beating us. And they're strong. They don't waver. They don't let down. We have all kinds of things. We have a circular firing squad, don't we sometimes? We get mad at it, and some of the stuff we disagree on is crazy stuff. I want to encourage you tonight to listen with an open mind. Really, really listen. Take notes. I see lots of you draw pads and pens, and that's awesome. I love that. Take notes. And then get engaged. Because this is what our republic is all about. Thank you for inviting me.
We're going to get started in just a minute, but I wanted to make sure that those folks that have been so instrumental in putting this together are thanked tonight. I want to begin by thanking my, right and left arm, Jan Gallagher. Jan, will you wave a little bit? Thank you, Jan. Jan is the Assistant Director for the 912. Dr. Janice Chester here in front. She's our timekeeper, so if you don't like it, you know who to talk to. I want to thank our almost founding Executive Director, Teresa Garcia. She's in the back. For those of you that have been with us for a long time, you remember Teresa, although she's a shadow from herself. And her sister, Kathleen. Kathleen is in the back helping us with our fundraiser. Ralph Scott, where are you? Raise your hand, Ralph. Ralph Scott is on our board of directors, and he's also one of our event sponsors, Scott Furniture. Dr. Greener, you have met. Skip Newbeck. Skip is our AV extraordinaire. This guy knows how to make sound happen. So thank you very much. We appreciate your help. And Will Garfinkel, are you in the audience? Will's helping us with PR and promotion, and we're so grateful. There are so many people here that I'm so happy to see. I haven't seen John Riddell forever, the Executive Director of Faith and Freedom, so we're happy to have him here and his lovely wife. There are a lot of people here that I wish I could name you all, but I just wanted to thank you. We do have a little can in the back on the table where the t-shirts are and the cookies are. This is a voluntary organization, and we would like to put on some more of these events. So after the primaries are held, we're planning to do more candidate forums, and then you're really going to see the fur fly. So that takes money. So we would appreciate your generous donations or buy a t-shirt, something to that effect. So I think we're ready to get started. Have you had enough time to look through the questions?
I just got it.
You just got it? Okay.
I'm shuffling them.
Anyone sing or dance? Anything like that?
Also, your phones, you want to silence them? Now, I notice this is streaming? Where is this streaming so people can tune in? On Facebook. What Facebook page do they go to?
Both pages.
Both pages. Awesome. Love that. Isn't technology amazing?
Oh, yes. So you can let everyone know before you turn your phone off. They can find us. Are we good, or do I need to?
I'm all set.
Thank you very much. We will begin.
And where is our timer? Somebody wait. Oh, there you go. I'm going to pay attention to you. 30 seconds. I only have 30 seconds? Man. She's like a dictator. I think we are going to win. All right. Let's see. Who won the coin toss? Did we do a coin toss?
I don't think we did one, did we?
Oh, we can do a coin toss?
Uh-oh.
Let's do it.
I only have 100, so you guys have to... Totally kidding. And I'm armed, so don't try to rob me after I leave here.
Everyone is.
Hey, you know what? I love that. I love that. You never feel safer than at a conservative gathering.
I don't have any quarters. All I have are dimes and nickels.
Everybody got a quarter?
You have a quarter.
Listen, nobody's going to rob you either, because you got a Delaware State Sportsman's Association shirt on. There we go. Awesome. Thank you. This is my pen. All right. Now I'm going to flip this. When it goes up in the air, I want you to call which one. Okay? If you call the same thing, then we'll have to do it again. Ready? It is tails.
It is what?
Tails.
Oh.
Yeah.
He said heads, so I will.
You get to choose.
I will be at the tail end last.
Awesome. Okay. First question for you, and let's just be clear, we have
2 minutes.
2 minutes. You ready? Would you vote for a bill requiring the Federal Reserve Board, being audited every 5 years?
So this is an issue that's come up, I think, time and time again. I think absolutely the Federal Reserve needs to be held accountable like every other administrative agency. But further than that, I think we need to do some serious regulatory reform of all our financial services regulatory agencies. I think we have 5 federal regulatory agencies that oversee the financial services industry. Why do we have 5? Why don't we just have 1 to supervise our financial services industry? And I've got a plan to do that. I spent 30 years in the financial services industry, and I have a way to do that. I think that will help reduce the size of the federal government in line with the policies of the administration. I think it will help streamline the consistency of regulation for consumers, and will also stop some of the continual breaches that we see from major financial institutions. I think the fact that we have had the same regulatory regime for decades, and we still see the same kinds of errors occur, there's obviously something wrong. We need some kind of change in Washington, and that would be what I would recommend in terms of not only auditing the Fed, but also streamlining the federal regulatory process for financial services industry. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Arlett, are you ready?
Actually, I was before we Karen, are we off our agenda already?
We started early.
I don't mean that. I thought we would each have 2 minutes to kind of do an intro before we got into the questions. I'm actually following the agenda. But
See that? See that?
Why don't you answer the question and we'll go to
And then we'll do that perfect. Therefore, could you repeat the question for me?
Sure thing. It's this is an excellent question. Would you vote for a bill requiring the Federal Reserve Board, being audited every 5 years?
Yeah, let's be honest. Who in here does not trust the government? Okay? I think the reality is, I think that is the premise of the question. As an elected official right now, I think it's really important that we as a government entrust you, the people. Transparency is critical. And for that matter, we've not had it. I think at all levels of government. So I think it's an easy question to answer. The answer obviously is yes. But the question is more so is why. Because we have people in office, truth be told, that have their own personal agendas. We have people in office today at all levels of government who have lost your trust. They've lost my trust. So I believe many things need to be audited. County government, where I am now, we audit every year with flying colors. I know the state government needs to be audited continuously, and I think obviously we have, I don't think we have our auditor in here, a candidate, but I think it's so critical to entrust you, the taxpayer, the public, the people. So by all means, I would encourage an audit every 5 years, if not more often, across the board of all levels of government. So because ultimately it's your dollars that we have to be held responsible for. So thank you.
And I'll tell you what, why don't we start with Mr. Truono first, since he did a great job, though. That was good picking up on that. I mean, Navy officer, we gotta give him a hand for that. All right, go ahead and do your open.
So, my name is Gene Truono, and obviously I'm running for the U.S. Senate. I see a lot of friendly faces here tonight and some new people. So I'll give you just a brief background of my why I'm running and a little bit about me. So I'm a native Delawarean. I spent 30 years in the financial services industry. My last role, I was the Chief Compliance Officer at PayPal. At PayPal, I was hired from my prior boss from American Express to do 3 things. One was to resolve an issue that they had been working on for 2 years. It was called an enforceable undertaking with the government of Australia. The second thing was to fix a problem that they had been going on for a couple of years with their sanctions screening program. And the third was to build out a global compliance program. When I started, we had 12 people. When I finished, we had over 120 people worldwide. I'm very proud of the success that I had there. That's my record, because I am from the private sector. I'm not from the public sector, so I don't have a political record, which is another benefit, I think, because I'm not a politician, nor do I aspire to be. I aspire to be somebody who comes from the private sector, who wants to go into the public sector in government and fix problems based on the experiences that I have. And one other thing that I did when I was working for a bank in the 90s, I served on a number of nonprofit boards that helped low to moderate income people. And in that experience, I realized that big federal government programs don't work. Actually, doing things at the local level through nonprofits and community-based and faith-based organizations really is the way to solve problems. And the way you do that from the federal perspective is to send block grants down to the states to let the states deal with issues like the opioid crisis, the homeless issues, and job creation. Thank you very much.
My name is Rob Arlett, and it is truly an honor to be here. And I want to thank Karen and the 912 organization for really hosting this event. I think it's so important to hear from you. So therefore, you can hear from us. I also want to thank Dr. Greener for moderating this. I think you are an outstanding person, as I met you again at that one event there about a month ago for the very first time. And I think we need more of you in this country, certainly not less. I want to welcome my wife. Lorna is all the way back. Stand up, honey. You can come up front. I'd love to see your face. Here we go. Mariel was 29 years, and of course our eldest son here, Justin, is also here with us. Youngest son, and hopefully is in a car heading back to Delaware. He's at the Naval Academy. But why are we here? As a country, we are experiencing some amazing things today. Amazing growth at the GDP. Records this last quarter, over 4%. Yes? Amazing unemployment. Lowest in 30 years, to include our minority organizations. Or I should say our minorities. Number 3 thing is obviously the taxes, the tax reform. It's real money getting put into real people's pockets. That's critical. When is the last time that you've heard of ISIS? When is the last time? North Korea Peninsula, is it about time we get them to the table? And when everybody thought it wouldn't happen. Yes? We are experiencing some amazing things today. We have an opportunity. I think it's the most important race coming up in November. Do we want to continue this trend? Do we want proper representation in Delaware, your representation in Delaware for the very first time in many years, to place a focus back on the people versus partisan politics? So I look forward to the conversations tonight. I look forward to this, and I appreciate you, and it's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you.
There we go. Awesome. Don't you love Facebook? They're helping us out. We're streaming in all kinds of different ways. Actually, I have a radio show, and this is playing all around the world right now with about a little over 4 million listeners now. So Delaware has an international voice tonight. You all are part of it. I just read these questions. You people don't play around. Get right to the heart of it. All right. Who is next? Who goes next? Awesome. Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Real Clear Politics put out a poll putting both candidates at about 20%, a little at or greater than 20%. Why do you believe that 60% of Republicans are undecided just a month before the primary? Great question.
I think it's a great question. I think it says a lot about the poll. I love the fact that we were all in single digits at Carper. Isn't that exciting? I have to tell you, I think really what that means is that this state is absolutely ready for change. We've been on one-party rule for so long, and so many of us are so much ready for change. I think that is what's going on. 20% and 20%, 60% is undecided because people aren't paying attention. People want to know the candidates. I think that's why this is important. They want to know the historical context of each of us. They also want to know what we're going to do about the state and about our country. I think it is an exciting time in the state of Delaware because finally, I believe we are awakening. We've been on the trail for 3 or 4 years at the grassroots, perhaps more so than any other person in the state. I've been listening to you. That's why we're here tonight. That is exactly why we're here tonight. So I look forward to the opportunity for us to get to know each other and also earning and keeping the 20% and, of course, also earning that additional 60% that's out there. So, again, I appreciate the opportunity for being here. Thank you.
Awesome. Excellent answer. I'm going to read the question again for you. Real Clear Politics put out a poll putting both candidates at or just above 20%. Why do you believe that 60% of Republicans are undecided just a month before the primary?
So we looked at the poll as well. I think it's incumbent upon all of you in this room to help both of us out. Obviously, it's clear that if 60% of the people don't recognize which candidate they're willing to support in the Republican primary, it's because they don't know us. And so we have, too, been working very diligently going up and down the state. We're doing forums like this, which I think are extremely important. But we need each and every one of you, each and every Delawarean, to get out and talk to your friends, your neighbors, your independents and Democrats throughout the state, as well as your Republicans, that we have 2 candidates running against the senior Senator Tom Carper. Most of the people I talk to say it's time for him to retire. Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. And I think it's important that we continue to drive that message. I have an electrician who did some work for me at the house, and the check got misdelivered, and so I ended up delivering it to him this afternoon. He answered the door. He had my T-shirt on. He said, Gene, I wear this everywhere I go, and people say, who's that? He goes, you need to get your name out. And he said, I want another T-shirt, so when this one gets dirty, I can wear the other one, so I can get your name out there for all the jobs I go. He goes to all the coffee shops in northern Newcastle County. And I said, you keep working on that. I'm sure Rob has the same kind of connections with folks. But that's what's important. This year is so important because we do not have representation in Washington. We are represented by 3 progressive liberals, and we have no voice as conservatives. So I think it's imperative that we continue to work hard, but you all need to work hard as well. Thank you.
We're off to a great start, 2 great answers, and what I love about it is not a bunch of political speak from either one of you. These are real men who've been in the trenches in life, and they're getting after it. That's why I think this is going to be one of the best races ever. All right, so you start first. Next time, right? We alternate. That's how we do it. Okay. This is a tough one. What is your stance on the Second Amendment? Further, on school security, and then there's a third question there. I don't think we're going to get to, but on jobs. But let's focus on Second Amendment. Your stance on the Second Amendment, and then as it relates to the Second Amendment and school security.
So I have been consistent. You can go to our website. You can see the videos. I fully support the Second Amendment. My stance is taking away people's guns is not the solve for the problem. This issue relates to, I think, a couple things. It's a mental health issue that this country has failed to address for decades, and it's only getting worse. There are certain things that we need to do to fix the NICS system and the 9/11 system. But as it relates to school safety, I said this early on. Every school, every church, every public facility can do a risk assessment for free. The federal government is working on sending federal dollars to the local states to solve this problem. And that risk assessment should be left to the states, to the schools, and the individual organizations, because they best can understand the needs specifically to their communities. So I don't want to see a big federal government program again. The block grants can come to the states, but the states are the ones that need to solve this issue. I was at a meet and greet up in North Wilmington, and the woman said to me, so you're for the Second Amendment. Do you want to lock down the schools? And I kind of looked at her and said, what are you talking about? And I said, and my response was simple. I said, if that's what the school decided was the best way to do it, then of course that's what we should do. So I don't know what misinformation she heard. She then said to me, would you take money from the NRA? And I said, I'll take money from any organization that's willing to support me, but I'm not going to change my positions on any of my positions. And so in the case of the NRA, I don't know whether they support me or not. I've answered the questionnaire. I believe and I support in all the things that they stand for, but I think we need to get serious about the Second Amendment because it's part of the Bill of Rights, and if you take away the Second Amendment, you take away all 10 because they're all combined. Thank you.
I think Second Amendment, first and foremost, how many DGR folks are in this room? By raise your hand. Okay. Delaware veterans. So that's very good. Senator Lawson, thank you for being here, sir. Appreciate you. He's a true patriot. We got a welcome senator back there. I think he was recognized. You know, many people talk about being a supporter of the Second Amendment. Well, I've actually raised my right hand twice to defend it. There's a big difference between a supporter and a defender. One in uniform as a Navy veteran, and also my current office right now. I'll give you an example of who I am as a person as it relates to the Second Amendment. First and foremost, I own 2 guns. I've got a 22 and a 9mm. That's number one. I think number two, and some of you perhaps might know this, perhaps you don't know this, but I'll share this with you. And that is, I'm a sitting county council member down in Sussex County. There's 5 of us. And we had people entering our building with weapons, threatening our employees. So we have to make a decision as a council. Do we allow that to continue to happen, or do we do something about that? Well, we had an ordinance in a public hearing. We had somebody there, actually Jeff is here, who represented the DSSA and the NRA. His testimony, along with Heller versus DC states that we as a building, we as an entity have every right to remove all weapons from that building today. All weapons. Because it's considered a sensitive area conducting government business. You may not have known that. However, we as a council decided to go the next step. We decided to put in writing the ability for you, the concealed carry weapon permit holders, to be able to carry your weapons into our building today. We safeguarded your Second Amendment by putting it in writing, despite the DC versus Heller bill. So I am a defender of the Second Amendment. There you go.
Thank you. So I want to ask, how do you guys feel about that answer? Both of those answers. How do you feel about these gentlemen giving you the answer? Excellent. Excellent. I love real answers. Just so you know, this is a tip. If we get an answer that's bovine feces, I'll stop you and we'll go back and start over if we can. How's that sound? I just can't stand fake answers. Love that we're getting real here. This next question is really something. Republican Congress, and I believe you will be going first.
Yes.
Republican Congress seems to have an aversion to cutting spending. What proposals do you have for reductions? Let me read that again so we can be sure we don't get one of those, because, politicians and spending. Republican Congress seems to have an aversion to cutting spending. What proposals do you have for reductions?
Well, it's a very good question. I think as a sitting county council member right now, it's something we do every single year, go through that budget item by item, page by page, and that's something that we've got experience. As a sitting council member, we've actually continued to have a surplus each year as I've been in office without raising any taxes. So I think that's really critical. First and foremost, I should also tell you is that we can't continue to sustain the expense. The ongoing growth in governments at all levels, to include our state, to include our federal government. $22 trillion deficit these days. That's crazy. What I would do, I think, let it speak for itself. Why don't we do an audit of all agencies, right? Is there not tons of waste? Go like this. Yes, Chris. So actually, I would bring forth and mandate an audit across the board, which does not happen today. And I think then we have the ability to actually streamline the process, get rid of the fat. That would be the first step that I would do, is bring forward that bill. And then we can look at the needs of the American people versus the wants. We have too many people today that want, and the government continues to give. Yes, we can't be all to all. That's not our role. It's not our role. So I would look real hard at the needs versus the wants. But that's after the audit and the transparency exists and get rid of the fat and waste.
Excellent. All right.
So this is one of the things I've been talking about since the beginning of the campaign. When Tom Carper, our senior senator, first began in Congress, we had $1 trillion in debt. We now have nearly $22 trillion in debt. And I don't hear our senator talk anything about debt reduction. Republicans are just as bad. They continue to spend money. I think the way to logistically reduce the national debt is through some of the things the administration is currently doing. That's through regulatory reform, shrinking the size of the federal government. One of the things they recently announced was to merge the Department of Education and the Department of Labor. I think it's a brilliant it'll not only solve the problem of creating jobs and education for the future, but it'll reduce the size of the federal government. We need to continue to reduce spending, though. And I would agree that some of the other ways to do that is that the Congress and the Senate need to look very hard at what we spend things on. There's already an inspector general who does look at all the agencies. When I was in the private sector, from the first job I ever had, I had to balance the budget. And if I didn't, if I was over, one of the companies I actually worked for sent out weekly flash sheets. And the COO would call each one of us, or any one of us, when we were out of budget. And if you didn't stay within your budget, you didn't get your bonus. So you need to tie real incentives to the government employees to make sure that they uphold their accountability for their budget. And with the cutting of government spending, reducing the size of the federal government, and reducing regulations, I think we can come to a place where we can really bring down this national debt. And one last thing, not to go unsaid. The fact that this administration is putting policies through tax cuts that stimulate the economy will have a natural effect of increasing revenue, which will also ultimately help reduce that national debt. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow, you people and your questions. Good Lance. This is going to be something here. When President Trump announced he was running for president, what was the first thing that entered your mind? And then they underlined and wrote real dark, be real.
Wow. Well, I'll be honest. I thought, wow, that's interesting. Actually, when there were 19 candidates that were originally up on the podium, I didn't really have a favorite. There were a couple that I kind of leaned to, and I thought, there's no way Donald Trump is going to win. But after I started listening to him and listening to what he talked about, maybe the way he talked about it wouldn't be the way that I do, but what he was saying and the policies that he put forth, I thought, wow, this is pretty incredible. And as he continued to move down the campaign, and we lost establishment candidate after establishment candidate, it became very clear to me that this is the guy who really could do something. Because he's not like the rest of them. He's not a career politician. He's not an establishment figure. He's somebody who comes from the private sector who wants to go into government to help heal this country. And I think that's what he's doing with his policies. And I give him an awful lot of credit. He made a lot of promises and nobody thought he would deliver on. He's delivering on every one of them. Again, I might not have done it exactly the way he did, but maybe it wouldn't have gotten done. I think the fact that he's been somewhat of a kind of person that would just lift up the table and throw it up in the air and see what happens has really made huge results, both on the domestic side and on the foreign policy side. Everyone condemned him for the way he attacked our North Korean leaders. Everyone condemned him for the kind of bold moves that he's made. But look at the results. And each time and every time, the results of this man are something that I think we all should emulate as elected officials to really help drive this country for change.
Well, when I first heard about President Trump getting involved in the presidential campaign, I didn't think much about it, truth be told. I was focused on my family. I was focused on my current office and caring for my mother at that time. But when I got the text on January the 6th of 2016 to ask if I would be the state chairman for the Trump campaign in the great state of Delaware, I said yes. So, talk is sometimes cheap. Are you willing to put it on the line? I chose to put it on the line. And that's the difference between me and many others, is because that's what we do. When everybody said you are crazy, to include my wife, I believed that he could win. I believed that he would win. Because there was things that he was talking about with passion. And he had the experience of being a job creator. He had the experience of being a job creator. He was a leader already. You can't do what he did in the private sector. You can't bring it all together in the private sector without being a leader. You can't. It's not possible. Immigration. That was the third thing that he was most passionate about. He understood that we were a country of laws, that we are a patriotic country, that we love our country, and that's who I am. I got involved with President Trump to make a difference in our great state. When everybody else said you were crazy, well, I'm here to tell you that Delaware is ready for great change because there are no other Republican presidential candidate in the history of the state that got more votes than President Trump. Nobody. So we've been in the battle, we've been there, and I look forward to supporting America First in D.C. when I get there as an administration.
Now, there's another question here, and I'm not unless the questions are directly related, I'm not reading them. This one, there's no point in asking either one of you and using up your minutes because you both answered that. And the question is, if, underlined twice, you get to D.C., are you going to get President Trump's agenda done, underlined twice, or will you vote no, underlined 3 times? So I think we have our answer there. Excellent job, gentlemen. Excellent job.
Actually, I wouldn't mind 30 seconds or 60 seconds. I'm not sure if you would like.
As long as it goes to both. Do they want to answer it both?
No.
But I'm saying as a question.
Yeah, I would love that 30 seconds or 60 seconds.
How do you feel about that? Do that as a question? Let's do it.
Was I my first on this one? I think I am.
You are first on this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, this race is not about President Trump, to answer the question specifically, because if there's something that's there that I don't agree with, guess what? I will stand for Delaware and make the right decision. We're not going to be a puppet to Mr. Trump, President Trump. I've been married for 29 years to my wife. You think I drink all of my wife's Kool-Aid? Think about that. Who in here is married? Do you all agree 100% all the time? I've been married 29 years and I don't either with my wife, and vice versa. So what makes anybody think that I will be drinking the president's Kool-Aid 100% of the time? The answer is no, I will not. What we will do is fight for Delaware families, fight for you, and start putting our first state first again. That's been missing, and that's the leadership that we will bring to Washington, D.C.
So I would answer just a little differently, a little more specifically. Tom Carper has not voted for any of the policies. Clearly, he hasn't voted for tax reform. He's done nothing to help the healthcare system that's failing in this country, and he's done nothing to reduce the national debt. I've read deeply. I'm a policy person. I love to read policy, and I've read all of the policy issues, whether it was moving the embassy to Jerusalem, whether it was getting out of the Iran deal, whether it was backing out of the Paris Accord, whether it's tax reform or tax reform 2. And I support the policies of this president and would vote for them. That's the difference in how important this election is. If we don't elect a Republican to this seat, we will not give this administration the support it needs to get these policies through. I think it's that important. Thank you.
Excellent. And might I commend both of you in finishing your questions, even to some extent, before your 2 minutes are up. I love that. Concise. It's what gets it done. All right, moving on. And Mr. Truono, you go next first. Election integrity has again come to the fore as the issue of non-citizen voting has again become an issue. What proposal do you have regarding ensuring that only citizens vote?
Well, this is a great question, and this is the one I scratched my head on. So you know state election laws are the ones that rule. It's not a federal government election program. The states decide on who votes and how they vote. But the fact that states don't require some form of identification, do not verify their list of registered voters against people who have died, against the federal registration rolls, it just boggles my mind. We know that, and they always call out, it's only one instance here or one instance there. Why wouldn't we want to keep the integrity of our election system sacred? So I think the federal government and the state owe it to themselves to work together to ensure that our election rolls meet the roles of those people who are U.S. citizens, but those people who can verify who they are. And certainly the states should be incumbent upon checking the rolls through a multiple different level of sources. With today's technology and the ability of data collection and artificial intelligence, there is absolutely no reason why any state does not know and verify who is allowed to vote, who is not allowed to vote, and who should be voting, and then verifying them at the polls. So there are some new methods. One I heard today that they would allow people to vote online. It's actually a test pilot with the military. There are some issues to still be worked out on it. I think we can use technology, but we have to be very careful because we know there was some instances of meddling in our election. So a lot of the states still use voting machines that are simply tabulation devices, just like an adding machine, which will keep it safe because it's not on Wi-Fi or not on the internet. We should consider those options, but we should consider using new technology to ensure the protection of our voter rolls and those people who should vote and those who should not.
Excellent. Two great answers.
This is why we're here. It's all about the elections. It's all about the republic. It's all about your voice. And I think as a country, when your vote does not count, we've got a problem. So I believe any vote that is cast illegally no solidifies your vote. This is how important this really is. Some people don't think of it that way, but when you've got 5, 10, 1,000, 1,000,000 votes out there that are not lawful and not legal, it wipes away the other 1,000,000 that are. It takes away your voice. It takes away your power. I believe elections are closest to the people, which is what makes our country amazing compared to all others. Yes? Because of that. It's very difficult for Russia or any other organization out there to infiltrate our election process, even though they do try every cycle, because they're trying to make a difference, or at least make the perception that they're making a difference. Right? But ultimately, I think it's about getting back down to it. I believe it also signifies immigration. Lawful immigration. We should know who's in this country and who's not in this country. For a lot of reasons, to include voting. It is an absolute amazing right as a U.S. citizen. It's a responsibility, I believe, to get out and vote. My wife and her family came here from another country lawfully. They were excited for that first opportunity to cast their very vote. And we need more Americans to take it serious and get out and vote. Would you not agree with that? So for me, it's critical that we have the integrity and honesty. Yes, we can use technologies, but be careful what you ask for. Right? I think closest to the people is very best. So therefore, the local control is best, and it creates. It does not create any more hanky business, if you will. So thank you.
Awesome. Great answers, both of them. All right, Mr. Arlett, this goes to you first. What is your plan to bring back the concept of insurance into the realm of the insurance market and ultimately reduce the extra layers of cost in healthcare in the United States?
So it's a reference to healthcare, the insurance question.
Yes.
Okay. We have a challenge in America today. We have an it's too expensive. Right? It's the Affordable Care Act is not affordable. We have a problem in the great state of Delaware. We've got one insurance company. We have one. That is a problem. It is a problem. Insurance, just this last year, it was requested to increase 33.6 the individual payer rate. 33.6% this last year. You think Delawareans can afford to do that? It's crazy what is going on. What's happening with our insurance. And that's something that we continue to talk about in this great state through our town halls. We had one last June, a healthcare town hall where we brought in professionals that understand the industry, that expose some corruption, that expose some real problems. I don't have all the answers as an elected official, but I want to learn from those who do. I believe that's why God gave 2 ears and 1 mouth, because I don't have all the answers and we need to learn. Would you all agree with that? And I think that's what's most important for me as an elected official, is to listen and learn from others. We have a real issue, and Senator Carper did not repeal the ACA when he had the opportunity. He forgot about Delaware families. He forgot about you and the struggles that you have to pay for those insurance costs. He forgot. That's not something that we're going to do. I've lived it. I paid for my own insurance for many years, almost all of my life before I got into office now, where that's provided for. As a small business owner, I wrote those checks every single month. It was very, very difficult. So we will bring real solutions to the real issues by listening and learning from others. Thank you.
Awesome.
So let's be honest, the Affordable Care Act was an experiment that failed. It failed miserably. And it continues to fail. The Democrats will say that the Republicans are doing things to make it fail even faster. I think if you look at the fundamental basis of the Affordable Care Act, it was not a sustainable program. I questioned when they first proposed it, why would we have the government-controlled health care when 60% of the people get their health care from their private employer? We have an individual market, which is only about 15% of the people in this country, that we should be focusing on. We have Medicare and Medicaid, and their solutions. What frustrates me the most as a citizen is that Congress talks about all these things. There was a proposed bill and then another proposed bill to fix health care. So the solutions are out there, but Congress will not come together to solve this problem. Senator Carper voted for the Affordable Care Act. He did not vote for the repeal, as Rob indicated. I'm wondering what his suggestions of solutions are for the Affordable Care Act. Health care is failing in this country. The administration just released a couple days ago an ability for people, this was under the Affordable Care Act, the mandate that you could not have policies greater than 3 months. They're extending that to 12 and possibly 36 months. So those people in the individual market don't need to go to healthcare.gov to get insurance. What that will do is create more choice for people so they can pick the types of programs that they want, how they want to be covered, not be mandated by the federal government to 3 programs that are limited their choices and have driven up costs. One last thing I want to say, there's a proposal that's coming out. It's by a senator who's running in Wisconsin. It's actually been out there for a little bit, to put price transparency in prescription, office visits, and hospital stays. That will naturally drive down the cost of health care. But I agree with Rob, we need to listen to the experts, but I don't want to listen to the same experts that proposed the Affordable Care Act, because they were just dead wrong.
They were liars. They were
Yeah.
liars.
We are slaying the paper here. All right, Mr. Truono, you go first. What are your plans to attempt to fix the skewed economy? What are your plans to attempt to fix the skewed economy?
Can I ask for a point of clarification? What do you mean by skewed economy?
I don't want to say your name out loud, but can you clarify the question? All right, I will.
You interpret.
Yeah, I'm going to interpret this. The economy right now is doing much better under President Trump, and I think if any of us in this room don't believe that, then we've got a little bit of a problem in Delaware. The fact of the matter of it is there's a lot more that could be done. I think, and I don't want to speak for this person necessarily, but there's so much more that could be done, and I would ask both of you, starting with Mr. Truono, what would be, let's pick the 2 top things that you would do from an economy standpoint, boosting the economy, making the economy stronger.
So, as you probably all know, we had tax reform 1. Not one Democrat, including our senior senator, Tom Carper, voted for that. They have proposed tax reform 2, which is still in its formative stages. But what it would do is make the tax cuts permanent for the middle class and for all the personal tax breaks. The reason why it wasn't made permanent, that they lie from the other side, is that the Republicans didn't do that. Well, the Democrats know that because they didn't vote for it, because you needed 60 votes to change the policy, they couldn't get that done. So I would vote for tax reform 2, which also does another thing which is pretty important. It accelerates some of the depreciation methods for small businesses and will help continue to stimulate the economy. As we've seen, the reduction in tax rates, time and time again, you don't even need to be an expert in the economy. Just read the history books. Every time we cut taxes in this country, revenue has gone up and the economy is stimulated. We are ripe for a continued stimulation of growth. And one of the other things, and Chuck Schumer says this, Nancy Pelosi says this, is that, and actually Kerry Harris, the other person running against Tom Carper, said we should give a universal income to all, so pay people a certain stipend every month. That is a one-time shot that's not sustainable. The fact that big corporations got the lion's share, as they're arguing, of this tax cut, 80% of the tax cut by dollar amount went to the big corporations, they used that money to invest in plant and equipment. That is sustainable. That will sustain the GDP growth that we saw in the second quarter, which was 4.1%, into the quarter after quarter after quarter, and will continue to drive this economy. We need to continue to drive policies like that add a sustainable growth with right and smart tax policy that helps all of us, and stop listening to the rhetoric about crumbs and about one side or the other getting a bigger advantage, because we all benefit when the economy booms, unemployment falls, and we all have jobs, good paying jobs.
Delaware has a problem. The state of Delaware is the number 1 employer in the state. That is a problem. We have many, many companies that incorporated in our great state, but very few set up shop. We used to be a manufacturing mecca. We used to be a chemical mecca. We used to be these things in our great state. We are no longer any of those things. We have lost 32% of manufacturing jobs since Senator Carper's been in office. We have lost 48% of our technology jobs, to include IT, since Senator Carper's been at the helm. He has lost his way. He's forgot about you, the Delaware families. He has. That's the problem. That's why he needs to get beat, and he will get beat, is because of those factors right there. What we will bring, finally, to Delaware and to Washington, D.C. is a voice of the regular family, of the regular family who's had real struggles. We are a real family that has had real struggles, and you will find and bring real solutions back to Delaware. Your representation has been missing about the jobs, about the struggles. Our wages continue to not increase as the expense continues to go up in our great state, to include the housing and the insurance and many other things. That's why our families are leaving. As a father of two, none of my kids live here. I'm sure you know families that are the exact same way. That's what we're going to bring. We're going to be the biggest cheerleader that Delaware's had in many years, to bring back what we used to be. That's what I'm really, really excited about. I think the free market will determine, but truth be told, our representation has forgotten about you, and we will bring real solutions back to the table.
Excellent. Two great answers. All right, you're going to be going first on this one.
Okay.
And then we will have a break. So I'm going to keep the schedule. It's a tough crowd. I hear their arms, so I got to be careful. I am a member of the 912 Delaware Patriots and believe in their motto. But this is written in cursive. The modern folks couldn't read this because I guess they don't teach that anymore. The motto goes like this: the Constitution is the solution. You both have said that you believe in the Constitution. If elected, what would you do in the Senate to restore our government to one that follows the Constitution? Mr. Arlett, you go first.
Great question. I believe, as an American, we have two gifts. I've said this before, and I'll say it again here tonight. I believe the first gift is that of the Bible. I believe that. I also believe, because of that belief, our U.S. Constitution was created. And the powers therein were granted to us from a higher being. I believe that with all my being. The most important job as a U.S. Senator is to reaffirm a Supreme Court justice. Yes? That is one of your most important jobs. That person must interpret the Constitution as written and not legislate from the bench. And that's what we will do to ensure our president has a nominee that is confirmed that does just that. I believe that is one of the most important things as a sitting U.S. Senator that I can do, is to ensure that that bench reflects and understands the God-given rights that each of us have through that Constitution, and to ensure that those rulings are taken care of thereupon. So that is my answer, and that's exactly what we will do when we get to Washington. Unlike Senator Carper, who continues to defy all things President Trump, who has already made a decision that he's not going to affirm the nominee that is there today, without even the hearing. That's irresponsible. And in my opinion, he no longer should be an elected official for that reason alone. We will bring principle, character, and honor back to D.C. from Delaware. That's what we will do.
Mr. Truono.
So I have said since the beginning of the campaign, so most of you here have heard me say it before, my two core principles are the Constitution and states' rights. I believe in limited government and limited government intervention. The Constitution doesn't pick winners or losers. That's the beauty of our document. It protects all of us in a free society. And so if you start with the principle of the Constitution and states' rights, as legislators, it's imperative that when you get to the policy discussion stage, you look at how the Constitution will be overlaid on any proposed potential legislation. When legislators propose bills or laws that would be volatile to the Constitution, like a number have on the state level, and there have been many proposed on the federal level that would take away people's guns, it's unconstitutional. The Constitution and its prodigy, the Heller decision and the McDonald decision, clearly identify that right. So as legislators, we should not go beyond our constitutional principles and the Supreme Court case decisions. Rob brought up a good point. One of the key things that senators do is pick or endorse or vote for the nomination of Supreme Court justices. And our senior senator has said that he will not vote for the proposed nominee. He's not even going to meet with him. I think that is unacceptable as a U.S. senator. You should at least meet with the individual candidates and make a determination. I would support any candidate, including this one, who is a fundamental constitutionalist. Because I think that's what our job is, to continue to create consistency of laws in this country so that we're all protected under the Constitution. Thank you.
Excellent. You will be going first when we come back from our break. I'm excited to tell you there's a break. The restrooms, the men's restroom is over there. I haven't been to the ladies, so I have no idea where it is. It's over that way, back the other door. We are going to start promptly at, we'll say 7:15. Or no, let's see here. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. 14 minutes.
14 minutes. All right. So, an international radio audience, you're listening now to the first state, the Delaware. Delaware is the second smallest state in the country. And the crazy thing about Delaware is that it is the second smallest state, but we have, I think, just about maybe a million people in this state. And there are more people listening around the world right now than we have in the state of Delaware. And I think that's cool. I think the fact that you can play a role in that. We have people listening from Maine to Florida, from Washington State all the way across the country. We even have some people listening in California, if you can believe that. So pray for those folks with the fires going on out there. That's some crazy business. And I appreciate all of you who have tuned in. We really appreciate the opportunity for you to listen in and to hear what this little state, I mean, it's a powerful state. Hey, the Vice President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, happened to have been when he was a senator, he pinned on my badge when I was a Newcastle County police officer. And interestingly enough, he became Vice President of the United States of America. And obviously, we do not agree at all politically. We just don't share any common ground that I can tell. However, what I will say is that can tell you the influence that can come from any state, little tiny state, second smallest state in the country, the second smallest state in the country, and we can always make the claim that we had a vice president, and that is amazing. A vice president coming from this little tiny state. Well, we are going to come back. I'm probably going to mute this, so it'll be muted for a little bit, but then we will be back. And so I don't want you to miss any part of it. I will definitely be starting it at 8 p.m. We will come back 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that'll be your chance to listen back in. Hey, we have a chat here. I have opened it up. And we are excited to receive any of your questions, too. We have a whole stack of questions from this audience. My guess would be, Skip, do you think, how many people, for our radio audience, how many people do you think are here? A little over 200?
About 210, something like that.
210 people, and the place is full. It is, thank you, Skip. Skip is our excellent sound guy, too, and a great patriot. But this is really interesting because, I'll be honest with you, I did not anticipate this number of people coming out. And they did, and they're excited. You can hear the applause in between questions. They're a fired up bunch. And what is also interesting to me is I expected, and I said this to a few, did some radio interviews today, and I expected this to be an audience of mostly more seasoned folks. And by that I mean people who are older. But this is what's crazy. I'm looking out among the crowd, and people are, kibitzing and whatnot, and I'm seeing a bunch of folks that are young, which I include me in that. I'm 52, I think, 52, 53, something like that. They're young, and they're engaged, and that's what it's going to take. Listen, not only in Delaware, this has implications all across the country. So not only in Delaware, but all across the country, this is what is required. This is what's required for us to be a true republic, a representative democratic republic. And, we've got a lot of people right now running around extolling the virtues of socialism, right? We've got Ocasio in New York. That young lady, as far as I know, has never held a real job, not a career job. She, as I'm told, she has a degree in international relations or affairs or something of that sort. And what is very interesting to me is that I'm told she does not actually have a lot of experience in that. She's got the degree, but she didn't know that Israel was. She didn't know that Israel. Yes, if you can get a card, I think we'll be fine. Oh yeah. Thank you, though. So, she's got this degree in international relations, but it doesn't appear as though she's ever actually practiced that, because she didn't know that Israel was a country. She came out pro-Palestine, and then when she was confronted about that, she backed off a little bit, didn't realize Palestine was a country either, didn't realize that Palestinians were bombing innocent children, putting up the kites, so had no idea, no background. I say all that to say this. And this is important. It's not because I'm saying it, it's just a fact. We need to not only get young people, people say we got to get the young folks engaged, right? We've got to get the young folks engaged. Oh, that's so important. We've got to get the young people engaged. And you're partly right. You're partly right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We do have to get young people engaged. But here's the thing. We can't get dumb young people engaged, because dumb young people do dumb things. We've got to educate the young people. We've got to help inform them and educate them, not on just the talking points, but on the truth. We've got to show them what is real and what is not real, what is true and what is not true. And that's the thing. All around the country, from Florida to Maine, from Washington State all the way to the East Coast, New York State, even Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. We've got a lot of young people that think they know the truth, but they don't. They're working off of talking points. They just kind of parrot those points. And I'm just going to tell you something. That right there, now we can't shut them up. We can't. We don't want to do that. Even though they're stupid, you can open your mouth, and if you're stupid, the people will listen until they're done listening to stupid people, and then they're going to walk away. They may call you stupid when they walk away. They have every right to do that. That's not a First Amendment thing. That's just, that's grown folk. That's what we deal with. If it's dumb, we call it out. We say it's dumb. So I say that to say this. It's incumbent upon us, to the greatest extent that we can, to inform and educate people as to what exactly is true and what isn't true. And you know why that's so important? And I'll tell you what, for me, this really stands strong. The reason that's so important is because, you know what? People can be sincere in their beliefs. So you can't tell me what to believe. You can't tell me I'm wrong. It's my belief. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's my belief. It's my truth. You can't tell me my truth is wrong. Here's the crazy thing. That's a completely asinine statement. Your truth could be completely false. It could be completely fabricated. It could be completely the wrong direction. So, we cannot allow people to. We have that. You know what? We have that. She's a seasoned person, Maxine Waters. She's very impassioned about what she says. I can't make out a whole lot of what she says, but she says things that are just patently and provably false. They're egregiously incorrect. They're so completely wrong. So here we have this really, really big thing to consider. Maxine Waters runs around, says stuff that's not true. People sit and listen to her. You know, she's got all these friends that, you know, listen, if we had friends that were, hey buddy, I'm live on the radio, 1.2 million listeners. Yeah, isn't that awesome? Navy veteran, senior chief or chief? Chief petty officer, retired Navy, came up to say hello. I love that. Booyah. Go Navy. So anyway, so it's just to kind of nail this down, because we're about 1.5 minutes back from coming back live with the candidates and the questions. You know, there are a lot of people out there saying things passionately. They are passionately representing what they believe. Maybe they don't actually believe it, right? Because we have a lot of people on the left that say things they don't believe. They say them passionately, they're demonstratively believable, right? But they're egregiously wrong. They're wrong about what they're saying. They're completely inaccurate or they're completely wrong. And so now we're left with this thing. What do you do with somebody like that? Right? Elizabeth Warren, great example. She doesn't believe what she's saying. 2 minutes to go. She doesn't believe what she's saying. She knows what she says is a lie. She knows it's not true. But she says it. And when she's called on it, she says, "Oh, you're anti-woman. You're anti-this. You're anti-that." I guess anti-Native American, even though she's not Native American. Whatever. Hey, Mr. John Riddell. Thank you very much. Faith and freedom leader. Appreciate it. So, you know, it's just exasperating, isn't it? And I know a lot of people, a lot of great conservatives who will say, thank you very much, sir, who they will say, let's see here, what's the questions here? Man, these are awesome. Oof, great question, great question, my goodness. So these people will say, okay, I'm getting the signal here, so I have to wrap this up. Let me cut to the chase here for you. Listen, if you're listening to this, you care, I mean, obviously, you know, I'm not the draw to tune in. You care about liberty, you care about freedom, you care about the democratic process, you care about this republic. And we have people listening from all around the world. We have people listening from Germany, Belgium, we have some people from France, we have 2 people from Israel. We're praying for you folks, what's going on over there. It's the fact that the national media, the U.S. media, is not reporting it is just absolutely sickening. I cannot believe that is the case. But that being said, this is what it's about, folks. This is the process. You come to a place like this, we're at a veterans. We're in an Elks club. I think I said before we're veterans foreign wars, but no, we're at an Elks club. It says on the wall BPOE. So, but we're here, and these people have all said, hey, you know what? I am going to come and I'm going to listen, and I'm gonna generate a question or two, and maybe my question. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Great Patriot giving me a question, and I think, man, these are really, really good. 1 minute warning. Oh, 1 minute warning. So listen, folks, thank you for joining in. Let me give you a real quick rundown on how you contact me. www.drshawngreener.com, DRSHAWNGREENER.com. That's drshawngreener.com. Then you can also reach me through my email, which is smgreener@gmail.com. smgreener as in Sean Michael Greener, which is my initials, smgreener, GREENER.com. Or, no, it's at gmail.com. At Twitter, at The Ninja Pastor. And that's a great place to get me. I'm also at The Ninja Pastor on Instagram. And so follow us there. There's a link to our photography website. We do some photography, and it's a pretty cool thing. So I don't know if you send me any questions via email. I definitely won't be able to read them during the debate. But if you send them via chat, if you're listening, you have our app. We have a free app, free iPhone app. Downloads in less than a minute. We have also a free Android app on Google Play. That downloads in less than a minute as well. So super cool, super easy, and it's super free. and you can't beat it. And so you can follow what we do. If you are an organization and you'd like me to come speak, I travel all over the country to do that, and we travel internationally for certain things like speaking on terrorism, counterterrorism, things like that. And so that's what we do, and we'd be happy to go to your group or organization. We speak at universities, not just private universities, but public universities as well. I'm often stunned who invites me to come speak, and the first question I always ask is, hey, have you ever listened to anything I've ever done? Because I'm shocked that you're inviting me. But they do, and I'm excited about that. That's a cool thing. So we're getting ready to get started here. So all of you folks, thank you for joining with us. Please follow me on Facebook, Sean Michael Greener, and then we have several pages there, The Collision of Faith and Politics, The Ninja Pastor, and then we have Professional Photographer there. So we'd love to have you. We would love to have you follow us there. Okay, here we go.
If you have a question, you write it down and want it up to the front. Bring it up now. I want to thank both the candidates. You guys are awesome.
Excellent job. Both candidates doing great. Doing great. Keeping it real.
Moderator's pretty good too.
Thank you. Just so you know, right now we have approximately 1.2 million people. More people listening to this radio show, to what's going on in Delaware, than the number of people in Delaware. That's pretty awesome. I love that.
Yeah, just like the cool thing, like 1.3 million.
Thank you very much, sir.
If you could read it, good luck.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Right
Love
now.
your hat.
More people than live in the whole
I like
state.
it. I've been to Argentina a bunch of times. Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Okay, I think I'm going to, did all the questions get up here? You good? Thank you, sir.
Here's another one.
Awesome.
All right, oops, here comes one more. That's probably the most important
One of the young people. I talked about on the show during the break how many young people are here. It's awesome.
All right, I'm going to turn this back over to our moderator, Dr. Sean Greener.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all for coming back. You guys are so faithful and following the clock. All right, we want to keep it moving because I know we've got a tight clock here. Mr. Truono, you are first. I think this is a fantastic question. Do you believe you can defeat the Democrat for Senate? And if yes, why?
Well, I think that's what we're all here tonight to decide. We have to decide which one of these two candidates can defeat Tom Carper or Kerry Harris, for that matter, in the general election. So we've got a ways to go. We've got to really get name recognition out. A 42-year career politician is someone who is hard to defeat in any case. But I think if we stick to the policy issues, there's a lot of things that I think Delawareans, including Democrats, independents, and Republicans in this state are very, very disheartened about. Our senior senator has been absent from Delaware. He has not delivered on this administration's policies. As a matter of fact, he has continually bashed this president. When the president withdrew from the Iranian deal, both Tom Carper and Chris Coons sent out an email blast that said he's just trying to undo everything that President Obama did. I think that's unacceptable. I think that's unacceptable for the senior senator. I would expect a lot more. I will give Chris Coons some credit. He said he thinks that it was a mistake, but he listed a series of questions about the deal that actually led me to believe he understood the policy around it. But the questions he asked led me to also believe that Chris Coons thought it probably was not a good deal. So I think there's a lot of momentum in this election cycle, both by people who are discouraged that think that Tom Carper should have retired, and that the economy is doing really well. So don't ever forget that. People often vote with their pocketbooks. So we do have that momentum behind us. And as the economy continues to improve, and if the third quarter is anywhere as near as the second, I think people will vote for change from individual elected officials who will not support this administration because that's the platform to run on, and that's how I think we can defeat Tom Carper.
It's a great question. That's why you're here. And it's easy answer, the simple answer, and the right answer for Rob Arlett is absolutely yes. I will beat Senator Carper. I'm so confident because he, the day I announced, came after me. He is fearful of our campaign. The day I announced, Next day, he did a campaign donor email blast out to his group. He is fearful of our campaign. Tells you why. Many of you in this room and throughout this great state asked me to run for this great seat. Many people in the state believe that I will beat Senator Carper, or perhaps the opponent if she wins. Many people outside this state, Washington, D.C., believe that we can and we will win this seat. We know because we've been listening. That's why we're running. Because Delaware has been under one-party rule for way too long. We have been brought down by the Democrats and the progressives. We have been brought down by them for so long, they have forgotten about you. They have forgotten about your rights. They have forgotten about your aspirations. They have forgotten about your dreams. So we will win because we've got the resources and support from within. And we certainly have them from without. I'm also the only person that's proven to be able to bring in independents and Democrats. I did that when I ran 4 years ago. I am also the only candidate. We all know in the great state of Delaware, we've got a 23% African American population. I'm the only person who has black leaders, pastors at churches standing next to me, Democrats endorsing me, and ready to go. I'm the only one. So we are ready. Question is, are you ready? Thank you.
What do you think? Is this fun?
It is fun. I'm having a great time.
Awesome. Mr. Arlett, you are next, and this is a sizzling question. My hands actually tingled a little bit when I touched it. We are now hearing that the social media cartel is banning or suspending certain conservative organizations from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. What would you, and let me just ask really quick, how many people in the room are on social media? Right? Come on. International audience, that's almost everybody. Incredible. So this is more important. Who would have thought, 10, 15 years ago that this would be such an important question? But here it is. We're now hearing that the social media cartel is banning or suspending conservative organizations from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. What would you propose to stop this attack on free speech?
Well, it's a very valid question because we experienced it in 2016. We experience it every day for those of us that are on social media. You can't minimize the importance of your First Amendment. That's who we are as a nation. That separates us from all. That separates us from all of the governments is your voice. It's your voice is what matters. It is your voice that is empowering. As the next U.S. Senator from the great state of Delaware, what will I do? Well, the reality is I think we need to listen from the experts yet again because we've got a problem. We have a real massive problem. And I love the fact that you are stepping up and demanding change. That's why they have hearings. That's why they have what they do. To listen and learn how to regulate, and learn not your free speech, but to ensure that all voices are heard. All voices. And when they're not heard is when we have a problem. Perhaps even within your own Facebook pages. I've experienced it personally. I managed to create a Facebook page, many of them, several of them, but one of which has about 20,000 people, I think the number is, or maybe 16,000, whatever the number is, it's many thousands, down in Bethany Beach, years ago before Facebook became what it is. And as a creator and an admin, you have to understand the importance of allowing all voices to be heard. Isn't that right? And so I'm a creator, and there's other admin, but I've actually experienced that in the social media world as a creator of a page. And there's many things perhaps that I don't agree with, but you know what? It's not my right, it's their right to share that voice. And that's exactly what we will ensure that all voices are heard, whether I agree or not. And I look forward to that conversation as you next U.S. Senator in Washington. Thank you.
Excellent.
So this matter has been in the press recently. Both the House and Senate have called for hearings on this. And some of the senators that have been on television talking about this want to grill all of these social media networks about the algorithms they've created. because it does seem to be somewhat unfair that the algorithms that they've created seem to disproportionately target conservative viewpoints, just as we saw with the IRS. So I think it's incumbent upon Congress and both the Senate and the House to drill down on this and understand what kind of methods they're utilizing. And so the common sense answer to this is people make the algorithms. So the algorithms are tested. And having come from a technology company, we actually tested things a lot before they went live, and we always look for the unintended consequences. So I don't think it's any mistake that they know that this is going on. So they're going to be held accountable by the Senate and by the House, and they should be. The solution is going to be hard because these are free enterprises that are doing what they think is right in order to protect the system from I'll have to say, I'm sorry, the Russian collusion, which we know is probably as much a farce as their belief that these algorithms are fair. But I think it's incumbent upon the House and the Senate to do that. And I think they're going to have to be held to task to show that they can prove that these algorithms are being fair and universally deployed. They don't appear to be at this point, and that is the role of Congress, and that's what you do as a senator when you're called up to the Senate chambers to explain your position as a free enterprise system. We need to protect the First Amendment, and as Rob said, I think sometimes people say things or do things that we don't like, but that's why we have the First Amendment. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, this next question is an excellent question, and I'm sure this could have been asked by every single person in the room. Will you support, Mr. Truono, you go first, will you support or introduce a bill that no government, and I think they mean official or senator or congressman, will be exempt from the laws they create, such as Obamacare? Both Coons and Carper voted to exempt themselves.
Yeah, so this question has come up a lot, actually, believe it or not, and I have been steadfast in my response. I think it is extremely unfair, and I think if you understand, and I follow this, because this is one of the first questions I had when they proposed the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. And originally, the Congress were going to be held to the same standard. But through the dark of night, they slipped an amendment right before the bill passed, which exempted them. I think that needs to stop in Washington. I obviously wouldn't have voted for that, but this was a bill that was voted for by only Democrats. So we have the Democrats to blame for being exempt from their own catastrophe that they made. Because if they were held accountable to it, I can guarantee you we would have a solution for health care in this country today. And so I think the standard, to the point of the question, that any law that Congress passes, they should be subject to. And I would stand up for that.
Well, I think Senator Carper thinks he's above the law. Gets back down to the integrity and honesty of our elected officials. If it's not good enough for them, it should not be good enough for you, and we shouldn't have it. If it is good enough for them, right, then it should be good enough for all of us. It gets back down to the frustration that you and I have with our elected officials throughout the land. It's that they get in office and they forget who they serve. We have these academia elites that have great degrees and have great titles, great bank accounts. And they think they're above it all. They forgot who you are. They forgot they represent the people and not themselves or their party. It's bigger than that. It gets back down to the fiber of who we are as a nation and as a country. And we must have people in office that are full of integrity and honesty and transparency. Because ultimately, they serve you, the people, and not themselves. And when they forget about doing that very symbolic and important thing, it's time for a change. And that's why we will have a change here in November in Delaware. Because we have somebody in office for 42 years that, again, I believe believes he is above the law. Because he makes decisions not on your best interest. He forgot about your family. And that's something that we're going to be able to bring, is that honesty and that integrity. And compassion. That's something that is missing. That's something that we will do, and I will never vote for something that is not acceptable for me and my family. You can count on that. So thank you.
2 excellent answers. Love it. Very direct. Donald Trump, this is the next question. Mr. Arlett, you go first. Donald Trump lost Delaware by 12 points. You will get Republican votes, but how do you propose to attract independent and Democrat votes in order to win?
It's a great question. I experienced it walking down these roads. President Trump got 42+%. Hillary Clinton got 52, I think 53%. 5 or 6% were the lower tier candidates. So yes, there is some work to do. Yes, you have to reach over to the independents and the Democrats. And yes, I've actually already done that as an elected official. I understand that's why I'm not the party guy. Some of you here don't like that. And I'm sorry. I'm in office to serve the people and not my party. And I will be an American first before I'm a Republican. That's who I am. I believe that's what we need in Washington. So the answer is very simple. We focus on what's important for all families. All families have a desire to provide for their families. Do they not? They want a good economic opportunity to be able to provide for the families. They want a very good quality education so they can have their kids get a good job and stay in Delaware. They want affordable care. They want affordable health care, which is not what we have today. That's why Senator Carper is removed from where he is today. And that's the message that we continue to focus throughout the state with our town halls. Because that's where we can connect with the people and listen to you, what's most important. And that's why we have the independents. That's why we have the Democrats. That's why we have the African Americans jumping on board today, right now, because of the message that our message is for all Delawareans and not just from the party. And that's why we're excited to be the people's senator from Delaware. Thank you.
Mr. Truono.
So I think we should take the approach that California's taking and divide the state in half. Just kidding. Cut off the No, that's not good. But seriously, as you know, and we're all here in Kent, and we know Sussex is extremely conservative and very Republican. And in Newcastle County, we have a disadvantage because there are more registered Democrats. But the people I've talked to, and I talked to hundreds of people at the Delaware State Fair, these are Democrats. I put them in 3 categories. They were Democrats, and the smallest group was, I'm a Democrat, I always vote for a Democrat, not going to ever vote for a Republican. And those few and far between, believe it or not, because there were 2 other types of Democrats. Those that said, I'm a Democrat, and I love Tom Carper, but it's really time for him to retire. And that was the overwhelming majority. But there was also another majority of Democrats that said, I'm a Democrat and I'd never vote for Tom Carper again. Or I'm a Democrat and the Democratic Party has left me. And so I think we have a wave in this cycle based on, especially on the national politics, where we've seen the Democratic Party attack so far to the left. They're putting up socialist-type candidates, and they're bringing a socialist message. I believe, having lived in this state my whole life, the Delawareans, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans are moderate to conservative. And I think that is how we're going to win, based on the increased energy from the economy, based on the fact that people believe Tom Carper should retire. The key is that we get out and get our message out and get our name out, because that is the one hurdle we have to overcome in order to win. And if we do that, we will turn Delaware red again, and we will have conservative principles represented in Washington for the first time in a long time. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent questions. Okay. Moving right along because you guys have a lot of questions. Awesome. All right. Mr. Truono, you go first. What is the role of the federal government in education at all levels? What is the role of the federal government in education at all levels?
So I mentioned this earlier. There is a movement to bring the Department of Labor and the Department of Education together, and I think it's a brilliant idea. Because what we need is a workforce in 2020 and beyond that has prepared students for the types of jobs that will be out there. Financial technology is exploding in this country, and we are going to be left behind if we don't provide the proper skill sets to all our youth today. They don't all need to go to college. For those who choose to, we should have proper curriculum. I believe education should be done on the state and local level. I think the federal government should get out of the education business. They can set standards and they can send money, but they need to allow state and local officials, the teachers in our communities, to develop the curriculum that's unique to that state and in the state of Delaware. I think that will be the solution. We can't be short-sighted. We really do have to focus on the future, because if we don't, we'll be left behind. Singapore, I was called to Singapore in 2013 to talk to their the regulators about financial technology and training. The UK has already started this. There's a state in Arizona that's done this as well. Australia's there, Canada's there, and we're going to be left behind China if we do not move forward, get the federal government out of the way, and allow for local state governments to provide a level of education that's suitable to the kinds of workers we need in our state and the other 50 states. Thank you.
Mr. Arlett.
Education is something that we all aspire to have. It's something that all of our children desire to do, is to be educated. Not so much to get a degree, but to be a participant in our economy, to be a provider for their family. And right now, our system is broken. It is not good in our country, and it's not good in our state, as evidenced by the rankings as we are as compared to other nations around the world. Despite the amount of dollars that we continue to pump in, we're not getting the results back out. The government, I will tell you, is the problem. Very simply, because I took a tour of one of the middle schools up in Newcastle County recently, in Wilmington. And I had a tour from that superintendent. And that superintendent, along with the parents and some teachers, and some of the admin that was in that building, told me very simply, the problem that we have today is that there's overreach of the government. Too many regulations, too much testing, and not enough focusing on what's most important to our children. We need vocational schools. We need our children to focus on how to go out and be a provider for their families. That's missing today. We have real needs in this state, yet the educational department has let them down because we're not teaching our kids. And again, the government, I believe, is the problem and not the solution. So to answer your question specifically, funding, yes. But beyond that, let the local school districts teach their kids. They know what is best. That's the solution to the issue, most importantly. And focus, I will tell you, on what the kids are good at. Not what we think they should be, but what their gifts and talents are. That's what we need to do as a system. That's what we do as parents. That's what we need in our schools. So thank you.
Great answer. Great answers, both of you. Excellent job. You guys are both doing great, keeping it to the 2 minutes. Excellent. I even like it when they finish early. That tells me they get it done before and under budget. I love that. So the next question, you start off, Mr. Arlett. Are you in favor of term limits? Are you in favor of term limits?
Yes. Not so much because I say that, because I am giving myself one right now in my current office. I'm an elected official. My term ends this year. I legally could have ran for both. Legally. Many people wanted me to do that. People down south in my county, in my district, wanted me to run for both because they want me, no matter what happens, they want me to continue to serve them. I got in office and I beat a 16-year incumbent. I gave that person term limits. Senator Carper, that's the problem with elected officials today. They are stale. They have forgotten about us. They have forgotten about you. We need constant fresh blood. And we need to get the big money out of the politics. When they're in office for too long, they get bought. Senator Carper is corporate Carper. He has been bought and paid for by corporations and donors. That's what's wrong. He is serving the master and not the people. So I believe, but I'm living it. Because of term limits in my current office, and when we get to Washington, I can tell you right now, we will term limit ourselves no more than 2 terms.
So, Mr. Truono, you're up. How do you feel about term limits?
Well, I believe our forefathers believed in term limits. It's surprising they didn't build it into the Constitution for the Senate and the House. Because the intent, based on the Constitution, were for farmers, doctors, lawyers, mechanics, and other tradespeople to take their trade from the private sector and move to Washington for a period of time to bring the experience that they had to help create solutions to problems and then go back home. I spent my entire life in the private sector. I'm actually turning 60 next week or 2 weeks. So I have self-imposed term limits because I am not going to be working after 72. If I do a second term, that will be as much as I do. I actually got a questionnaire early on in the campaign. You get all these questionnaires about, would you support term limits? And I thought, well, yeah, of course I would. I opened the booklet. It's 24 years. And I thought, this isn't a term limit. So I tore up the survey and threw it away. Term limits should be for the Senate, I think, 2 years, for the House, and most 5 terms, which is 10 years. And then send them home. That's what was intended by our forefathers. That's what I think we should all do.
All right. I haven't had a bad answer yet. I did have somebody contact me through the show and say, I don't feel like that last question was answered all the way, the one on social media, so we may circle back to that. Only homeowners, Mr. Truono, you go first. Only homeowners pay school tax even if they don't have children. What about apartment dwellers or renters who have children? Should there be a school tax created for every family in Delaware, not just homeowners, similar to the per capita tax they have in Pennsylvania, and only use it for school and by the number of children? That's complex.
It is.
I might ask you to repeat that one.
I will repeat it for you.
I think I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. So, being a fiscal conservative, I don't believe we should add any new taxes to anyone. But this is an interesting issue and one that I've actually never thought about. So, I'll be honest with you, I don't have an answer for that question. Because I really would like to do the analysis as to why we originally created school tax for people who are homeowners versus people who are not. But it is an interesting and fundamental question because while we have people who don't have children pay school tax, because we make it uniform so that we can fund the school system, which is important. The fact that we don't tax other individuals who have children but don't own property is one that I really haven't studied, and I really would appreciate if everyone would accept the fact that I can admit that I don't know the answer to the question. I would like to do more analysis, and I'll get back to you on it, and maybe we'll put something on our Facebook page and explain my position on it. Thank you.
Well, again, it gets back down to education and property tax. I mean, that's something that we do at the county level. We've not raised our taxes in many, many years. And I think it all gets back down to answer the question. I mean, if you are not a homeowner, if you're a renter, you are paying the tax because it's built into your rent. So to me, I mean, there's already an income that's there. The question is the government doing what's the best with what they've got? That's the bigger question. That's the ultimate question. Are they being good stewards of the dollars that they are receiving? And I think that's the bigger question, is more so of that. And I'll also share with you, because we also know that there's an unfunded mandate in our great state, and for that matter in our country, that affects directly the schools. There has been a 400% increase in our English student learning students in 20 years, ESL. Did you all realize that? 400% increase in the last 20 years. What I'm saying there is I hear often, and what that means, and there's also, I think there's a statistic that was on WBOC very recently, that many of these kids, or the parents, were not born here. And we have ongoing challenge, I would say, in our state with the immigration issue. And I think that's part of our issue with our schools because we continue to fund those that are not here lawfully and legally. So I would like to make sure that our government's doing their job as being efficient and effective, At the same time, let's make sure those that are in our schools are here lawfully. Because if they're not paying their way, then you are. And is that fair?
No.
How is that fair? So, and that's something that I think that we should have to talk about as a conversation in our communities. Because it directly affects every Delawarean and every American for that matter. That's something that I think we need to have a conversation about. So, again, I appreciate that.
How's everybody feeling? Good? We are rocketing through. I'm going to make a straw out of this. I'm going to make a paper straw out of this. I'm finished. It's a big pile here. Okay, the next question, Mr. Arlett, you go first. How do you propose to reduce big government, and what is the time frame for the accomplishment of this?
Wow,
It's a big one.
That's a biggie. I think I've already answered that question earlier. And the reality is, again, we as elected officials have got to be good stewards of your dollars. And the federal government has failed. The Congress has failed with a $22 trillion, ticket that exists out there. I'll get back to my earlier statement. I think you need to audit all of them. And I think ultimately that in itself gets rid of waste. There's plenty of waste in all departments, every single department, to include that of the Department of Defense. We all know I'm a veteran. We love our country. We love our those in the military. But is there waste? There's waste. And I think that's something that we have to have the mindset that it's not their money. The elected officials in Washington, and for that matter, many throughout all levels of government, forget that's your money and not theirs. So with that mindset that goes in, you can be a good steward, and you better think really twice before you do a tax increase or another fee involved, because ultimately it's not their money. So that's something that I would bring to the table that's not always talked about, is it's your money, not theirs. Isn't that nice feeling for maybe once we have somebody who understands that? But again, get back down to that audit, get back down to streamlining all things and make it more efficient. And I think that timeline, well, I think that's the other part of the question. And I would say I don't have the answer to that because I'm not sure what President Trump's in there slashing away. He's doing his job. And so it could be 1 year, could be 2 years, could be 5 years. I think that's up for discussion, but I can say this, sooner the better. That's my belief.
Excellent. Mr. Truono. Yes, I can. How do you propose to reduce big government, and what is the time frame for the accomplishment of this?
So, we've talked about a number of these things in other questions before. I think consolidating agencies is a good start. I think reducing regulations will also help. But I also think some of the things that the administration has already done, which when Donald Trump started, he signed an executive order that required that every agency not refill positions. And so we're seeing a slow reduction through attrition. Now that will take a long, long time. But it is having an impact. About 24,000 less federal employees than we had when we first started. So it's using tools like that to consolidate the agencies and really holding Congress accountable. The other thing that can be done, I think, which is in philosophy of my belief in states' rights, the things that the federal government should not be doing, and they should stop doing and push it back down to the states. That is a way we can reduce the federal government and our dependency on it, and allow for the states to decide what services they want to provide. The federal government should not be providing. Time frame? We're talking about Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So I think we need to take a start, but it does start with the Budget Committee, and I think it starts with the will that all people who are elected to really have this concept and be held accountable. And you're held accountable by you, the voting public. But we're also held accountable, I think, by the kinds of things that we do. Some of the other things I think that will also help this is the stimulation of the economy. As we create more private sector jobs, we'll need less federal sector jobs, so it won't hurt people. So there's a whole host of things we can do. I think we need to sit down together, the Congress and the Senate, and come to the conclusion that the federal government is just way overloaded. We spend way too much money, and we waste too much money. So it's using all of these tools in order to attack the problem.
Awesome. Now, you're going first on this, and we kind of touched on this, and I had people writing into our show that wanted to know, they felt like the social media thing wasn't completely tackled. However, I like this next question, and it's just by chance it comes up. How do we get our millennials involved in something like this, what we're doing here? Instead of relying on social media by way of their cell phones, getting their heads out of the cell phones, getting them in the process. How do we do that? How do you propose to do that?
Well, I think that's a more difficult problem than reducing the national debt.
Herding cats, so to speak.
I think it really is giving them an incentive and a reason to do this. We need to bring young people up. I've said this from the very beginning. I'm turning 60 years old. I'm not going to be in the Senate forever. I think we need to bring young people up and bring them into an exposure to the kinds of things that we were brought up on. I know that sounds corny in some way, but having a national platform and voice as a U.S. Senator, we can talk about these issues. We can create the dialogue, and we can even create it on social media, by the way. One of my brothers, who's actually older than I, always loves to text me. And halfway through the conversations, I don't like to text. I pick up the phone and call him and say, I'm going to restore the art of communication one phone call at a time. And I think if we all put that in as our mantra, we can make a change. What I have seen, though, and what I've heard, is the next generation is actually moving away from some of these kinds of concepts that the millennials have. The view of being more conservative, being less socialist. I think we really have an opportunity to bring them into the fold, bring them up with us in everything we do, whether it's in our nonprofits that we work on, whether it's in our churches, whether it's in politics. And I think we can help educate or re-educate the youth of this country to look at, why don't you sit back down and read a book? When was the last time you did that? Well, maybe they are reading a book online, but that's okay too. I think we need to just do that from a grassroots, internal view of all of us who want to make that change. Because as we all get older, and I go to a lot of forums like this, we see a lot of older people. We need to bring young people with us, and that's the only way we're going to make change.
Mr. Arlett.
It's a great question. It's something I've thought about for years, as my first son was born 27 years ago. Right? I mean, all of us parents in here, that's something that we all aspire to figure out how we can engage our kids in being involved. And so I can only speak from my own personal experience, as both of my kids are very engaged and very involved. Because ultimately, it starts at home. Ultimately, it starts at home. It doesn't start in technology. I was looking for my phone, but it does not start in the technology world. It starts back at home. And I think that's the answer in short. But I will tell you, and also, we need to understand that they all need to be conservatives and Republicans. Because they live through the lens of socialism and handouts. Many of them. Not all. Not all. But many of them do. So when they realize they got to work to get something, they'll be involved in the process to elect those who make decisions that affect them. They sometimes are removed from the process because they think things are given away and given to them. It gets back down to our foundations and fabric of a country, that you make a difference, that you matter, that you do matter. I think it gets back down to those foundations at home and in the schools, which is how the children will learn that they must be engaged, that they must be involved to make a difference. So as a father of two, that's something that we've thought much and hard about, but I'm proud to say that both of my kids are very engaged and very involved, and both are millennials. So with that being said, let's get them away from socialism, let's get them out there and understand they have to go work for it. And that in itself, they'll get engaged very quickly.
Excellent. All right, we're keeping it moving. This is to both candidates, obviously. It's kind of a two-parter. And Mr. Arlett, you go first. How do you feel about the NRA, the National Rifle Association, and are you a lifetime member?
I feel tremendous about the NRA. As a matter of fact, I am a member. I'm not a life member. I mean, I guess you can pay money to be a life member. So some people have done that. I have been a member for many, many years, but not a life member. I believe in what they stand for, obviously, as a Second Amendment defender, and I counsel with them I've sat down with John Sigler, a friend of mine, the past president of the National NRA who lives right here in Delaware. I've had great conversations with him. I respect him and his ability to communicate. So to me, it's an important organization. 6 million members nationwide of law-abiding citizens. So to me, it's an important organization for the fabric of our country, and I believe what they stand for is righteous and constitutional, and I will continue to support the NRA, not just as a member, but being an active member. And again, that's something that's really important as a person, as a patriot in our country that we do. And I look forward to going to Washington and being an advocate, yes, for the NRA, but more so for our U.S. Constitution and the Second Amendment. So thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Mr. Truono.
So I would just say ditto. I think I am a member of the NRA, not a lifetime member, but I support the positions. I've also talked with John on a number of occasions and got his point of view. I think the visceralness in this country is drawn out by this one issue. And it really bothers me that the media and the people on the left will call out one organization and with hatred and visceralness because they don't agree with their position. I don't see us on the right doing the same thing for organizations that support the left, at least not to the same extent. I think it's unfair. I think it's time we change the discord in this country. We can sometimes agree to disagree, but we certainly can support our principles and our beliefs. But I believe if you look at the principles of the NRA, you can see that they uphold the Constitution. Some people on the left, or those people who want gun reform, don't agree with them, but that's dialogue. That's not visceralness, and I think that's where we need to move away from this country on this topic, the Second Amendment, and all others as well.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, this one's a toughie, and we'll get right to the heart of it. Are you a supporter of President Donald Trump's agenda? How so or how not so? Obviously, one or two examples is fine with the 2 minutes. And would you campaign with him if he comes to Delaware to campaign with you? Mr. Truono, you are first.
So I've said this all along as well. I have followed the policies of this administration, and there's not one major policy, whether it was the moving of the embassy in Jerusalem, the Iranian policy, the North Korean policy, his foreign policy and his approach is just incredible. I mean, who would imagine that we bring North Korea to the table? Who would imagine that we're actually squeezing the sanctions that we just introduced on Iran this week? I never agreed with the Iranian sanctions being removed. I thought it was a mistake because we almost had them where we wanted them. We almost had them where we're going to get to them today. His policy towards China, it's very interesting if you look at it. So everyone is really upset about the trade policy because you can argue on both sides of this. But there is a strategy and a brilliance to this man, which I think is absolutely incredible. He went to Europe first. He got the European Union to agree to have a target of 0 tariffs. They're going to Mexico next to try to do the same thing, or at least some level of parity. Then he's going to do it in Canada, and he's going to go to Japan. Isn't that brilliant? Because who's left? China. Where will we have China? Right where we want them. Because if we create unilateral deals with all these countries, China's going to come to the table because they're going to be hurting. Because we actually have a much larger GDP than they do, and he knows that. So after he got elected, he started doing these things. I thought, this is great. But when you look at his policies, when you look at what he's done, I simply say the man is absolutely brilliant. You may not agree with his approach sometimes, but I look at the results. And I would absolutely support the policies of this president. There's subtle nuances when he came out and wanted to, after one of the shootings, he said we should have age restrictions on individuals at 18 and 21 to buy guns. And I didn't agree with that. So there are subtle nuances, but that's where you have the discord when you talk about policy. But by and large, I think every one of the major policies of this administration I would support.
Well, yes. As a state chairman, I did just that. When he came to Harrington back in April of 2016, I was the MC at the Harrington rally that he did. So I was that guy on the stage to get the crowd all excited when the president came into town. I was also asked to be the chief delegation whip at the RNC convention in Cleveland later that July. So yes, I did that as well. After he won his election, I was asked to be a part of the presidential inaugural committee, part of PIC, in Washington, D.C., and I did just that. So we have been a part of this movement in our state through our nation for quite some time. And I have been to the president's house, our house, the White House, on multiple occasions. I was there in the Oval Office back in, I think it was February or March of 2017. There witnessing him doing a signing of rescinding of the regulation, the Waters of the USA Act. Regulation is what it was. So I look forward to the president coming back, working with him as a U.S. Senator for the benefit of Delaware and also for America. So yes, we support his America First agenda, and yes, we support his policies that are good for Delaware. I look forward to working with him.
Awesome. All right, we got to hustle on this one because I see we're coming up on the closing statements. I want to get this in, though. This is good. With so many, and Mr. Arlett, you go first. With so many illegal aliens in Delaware, how do we fix illegal immigration?
First off, understand that Congress, it's their job. It's not the president's job to do this. It's Congress's role to fix immigration. We have a real issue in the state of Delaware. As I said earlier, massive increase in our schools. I got to tell you, 6% of our population, 55,000 undocumented legal immigrants are in our state, as admitted by one of the cabinet members of the government. That's admitted. Very likely higher. Very likely higher. That's 30% above the national average. Understanding that we are a country of laws. Understanding that we are a country with a border. For those in the military, they understand borders. We defend them. At the same time, we are people of compassion. We are people that care for another human being. That's who we are as Americans. So what I would do is, first off, is enforce the current laws. That's number one. Number two, I will bring forward a reform of legal immigration. We need to shorten the process, make sure we're getting the best in this world that want to come here. Lawfully and legally, as my wife and her family did. They aspire to have the American dream. They do. But we have to do it properly. We have to do it lawfully. We have to do it legally. And that's something that we're going to bring that's just not there today. They want to keep kicking the can down, and Senator Carper is part of the problem. He has supported continuation of illegal immigrants coming into our state. Supported that. The question is, why would he do such a thing? When he took that raise that right hand to defend the U.S. Constitution, instead, he chooses to put the illegal immigrants above you and in front of you. I will put you first as your next U.S. Senator.
Thank you very much. Mr. Truono.
So this is a real problem, and this is why we have replaced Tom Carper as Senator. If this issue is something that's really important to you, this is why we need to elect one of us to go to Washington. Because there has been proposed legislation. There are solutions to this problem. The legal immigration system is broken as well. There's a bill that was drafted and has not been brought up. It's the RISE Act by Senators Cotton and Perdue. And it would fix a lot of the illegal immigration problems, but it would also fix the legal immigration system. And what it does is deliver on all the promises that the president made. And it would restrict the number of legal immigrants that come into this country based on the workforce that we need in H-1B visas and H-1B2 visas, so temporary workers or full-time workers. And that's, I think, the right approach. So we have the number of legal immigrants that come to this country legally. It also included money for the border wall, because let's be honest, if we do not seal the border, we will not solve the problem. We also will never solve the opioid crisis. We will not solve human trafficking and child prostitution. Those are problems that are exacerbated by not having border security. It does away with the visa chain migration issue and the visa lottery system and the chain migration issue, which are all part of the issues that surround a lot of the reasons and the symptoms to our legal immigration process. So if we do that, and the bill is there, We need you to have the votes. We don't have the votes today. That will go a long way in resolving the immigration problem, both the legal and the illegal immigration problems.
Awesome. I'm ready.
I want to make a real quick interject with a question that came to me from the audience. I would like to ask our candidates, and we'll start. Who gets the first? Where do we leave off?
Mr. Truono will go first.
Mr. Truono, will you support Mr. Arlett if he wins, and will you support Mr. Truono if he wins?
So that's an easy one. It's come up in probably every forum that we've been at. And I said absolutely yes. And the reason why is I cannot, in good faith, support Tom Carper. We cannot send that man back to Washington to represent. We need someone with conservative principles to represent all of us in Washington. And that is not Tom Carper.
Mr. Arlett.
Valid question, great question. Yes. I'm an American first. Plain and simple. This is much bigger than each of us. This is much bigger than each of us. Our country is at stake. The Senate is so very close. We've got somebody in office today who's just removed from reality. It's just time to turn the page on Senator Carper. We appreciate his career. It's just time for the next generation to step up and lead with courage and represent this great state in the U.S. Senate. This is much bigger than anyone else. So that is an easy answer, and that is yes. We will beat Senator Carper and retire him.
All right, next we're going to have, and thank you all for your great attention, and you've been, let's just say, you've been very respectful, and it's been awesome to watch. It's neat to witness, and I'm stoked by who we have as a voting bloc here in the state of Delaware. Now comes the time for closing statements. We're going to do reverse order of the coin toss, so you actually elected to go last. And so that said, we are going to start with Mr. Truono. Your closing statement, you have 2 minutes.
So thank you all for coming, and thank 912 for putting this on. I think these forums are extremely important for all of you, the voters, and for all of us, the candidates, because this makes us stronger. Our senior senator is, I think, is still a formidable candidate. Some people don't agree with that, but I think he is. He's smarter than he sometimes comes across. So we need to be prepared for him after this primary. And I think it's incumbent upon all of you to think really hard, because this is a tough decision. It's a tough decision for all of you. We both are similar, as you probably heard tonight, on a lot of these issues. But you have to think about which one of the two of us can defeat Tom Carper, or Kerry Harris for that matter, in the general election. And that's a tough decision, because we've got good candidates here, and they've got good candidates on their side, based on their policy issues that I don't agree with. I met Kerry Harris. She's a lovely, delightful person. She wants to debate us, and I said, Kerry, but I don't agree with you on anything. She says, I know exactly. That's why I want to debate you. And I said, exactly, because then people in the state of Delaware determine, do we want a progressive liberal in Washington, even further left than our senior senator, or do you want conservative principles? And that's why I'm running, is to bring conservative principles to Washington. And I hope you all do your homework, do your due diligence, and get everybody out to vote in this primary and then in the general election. Because if you don't do that, we will not be able to take this seat. It's that important. You need to tell your friends, your neighbors, you need to convert Democrats and others to vote Republican and vote for one of us, both in the primary and then in the general election. Thank you very much.
Mr. Arlett.
Again, it's been an honor here tonight. It's so important to share our thoughts and share our visions with you, Delawareans, and for that matter, 1.3 million that are listening, I guess, right? You have a very large decision to be making. We are, I believe, at a crossroads in our country. I think this is one of the most important elections of our entire lifetime, because it certainly will determine if we continue on the success path that we are on or we do not. There are some real differences. You've got to make a decision. The differences are very clear. I'm a lifelong Republican. with proven conservative record. Proven. I'm a family man, father of 2, married 29 years. I understand what it takes to work with and for families. I get it. The struggles, I understand it. Caring for parents. I understand all those things, those dynamics. Small business owner. The difficulties of making that payroll, making that rent check for that building, the insurance, all the things that are involved with small business. I understand it. I'm an elected official. I understand service above self. I understand it. We brought the independents. We brought the Democrats into our fold. We have a track record of it. This is not some pie in the sky wishful thinking. We've proven that. You have a choice to make. We also understand that it's going to take the African American vote to win. I have proven to be able to reach to all and attract all. We have done so. I look forward to bringing in resources from outside of our state, because we all know it's going to take that to win, so it can beat Senator Carper. I look forward to continuing to earn your vote, and I would ask for you to learn more about our campaign and get involved. Go to Arlett.com and make a difference. I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. I really appreciate that. A couple things I want to say before we close out, and we're going to say goodbye to our international audience. Register to vote in the primary election. If you're in Delaware, register to vote in the primary election by 8/11/18. The primary election is 9/6, so September 6th. And the midterm is 11/6/18. You guys got all that? Important. All of this is for naught if you're not registered to vote and you don't cast your vote when it is time. Now, let's give a Delaware goodbye to our national radio audience, and we will close this out. How about everybody say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye!